everybody, Mr. Mobs here and welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to do a quick video that a couple of you have requested on how to connect the MetaQuest 2 or the MetaQuest 3 and I guess 3S, how to connect that to a PC in order to play PCVR, specifically Microsoft Flight Simulator. However, these methods will cover pretty much any PCVR. So there's a couple of different ways in which you can do this. And I'll go through kind of each of them and I guess the pros and cons. Before I start, I'd just like to say, obviously, I'm no expert at each method. I do have my own preferred method. And I'll just kind of go through all the details with you. But I am sorry if I do kind of make any mistakes or I kind of misguide you, but I'll just kind of give you my best information that I've got based on my own personal experience and what I've kind of read up on the internet. So yeah, so there are basically two different ways you can connect. You can connect wirelessly via your Wi-Fi, or you can connect using a link cable, either the official link cable, or there are a number of third-party cables you can buy as well. Now, there are kind of pros and cons to each version. And everyone's going to have their own preference. My preference for 99% of the time would be to connect wirelessly, because I get the freedom of not obviously being tethered with a cable. However, that does rely on you having quite a good home network, and there's kind of a few different criteria in order to get that set up and working as good as it can. Using a link cable, you don't have to worry so much about the network, because obviously you're hardwired to your PC, and in some cases you can get a better quality picture than you would via Wi-Fi. Although my kind of a personal experience with that is my quality via Wi-Fi is at a high enough standard for me to be able to play and really enjoy it and have a good experience. So the other thing to I guess factor in as well is the type of game that you're going to be playing on your PC or PCVR. Is it a sat down game that you're going to be sat in front of your PC? If so, then having a cable isn't a big deal. So the likes of Flight Sim, for example, you're not moving around really, so having that cable there is not too bad. But then there's other games where you might be shooting, you might be moving around, doing a lot of movement, and then your preference might be to use a wireless connection. So there might be kind of instances you want to kind of mix and match depending on what you want to do. So obviously with a link cable it's fairly straightforward. You link it to your PC. Normally it will open up the relevant there you get like a pop-up saying do you want to connect to Questlink, and you click on yes. I believe there used to be some drivers that you needed to download from the Meta website, so it's been such a long time since I've done it, since I've originally connected. I'm not sure, but I think when you plug it in you're likely to get some kind of windows to go through on your PC just to download the relevant drivers. If that doesn't happen, then just search on your PC. If you just go into Google or something like that and just search Oculus Link drivers, and I'm sure that'll kind of give you the process in which you need to download. But first of all, just plug it in and see what happens. It should hopefully kind of give you a walkthrough at that point. I'm not going to go through every single step and go through all the different options and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of the various connections. So the option that I use mostly is Virtual Desktop. It's a paid-for app. You go on to the Meta store and search Virtual Desktop. You'll find it on there. You pay for it. Now, there's two parts you need to download. You need to download the part of the app in your headset, and then you'll need to go onto the PC and you'll need to search Virtual Desktop Streamer. You go onto their official website and you'll download the streamer onto your PC. You only pay once, and that's for the app on the headset. The streamer is free, and that allows the PC to connect to your headset wirelessly. Now, I choose Virtual Desktop over some of the alternatives which are free. So the alternatives, there might be more, but the ones I'm aware of are Steam Steam Link, which is free and obviously via Steam or Valve, and then AirLink, which is kind of Meta's own solution to wireless link, and that's also free. But for me, I've tried all three, and personally, my favourite is still Virtual Desktop. I've had a lot kind of smoother experience from compared to the other two. I will say that I haven't used the other two for a long time, so there might have been improvements that I'm not aware of. And like I say, everyone has their own personal preference. So what works for me and what's right for me isn't necessarily going to be right for the next person. So just bear that in mind. But for me, Virtual Desktop works really well. For someone new to Virtual Desktop, you might be a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of settings that are available to you on there. But normally, once you've got it set up and you've got it working as you want it to, you don't really have to go in and change a lot after that point. So once you've got it up and running, away you go with it. So what I've done is I've taken a couple of screenshots of my own personal settings, which I'll share on the screen now, and I'll kind of walk you through the settings that I have and give you kind of a brief explanation as to why they're set that way. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of Virtual Desktop. I don't know everything about it, and you might see some settings on there that you disagree with. So please put in the comments if you think that I should be doing anything different. So I'm just going to have a look. So the first one I'll put up then is the settings that you'll see on the streamer. So this is the settings that you're going to see on the PC itself. So once you've downloaded the streamer and you open it, you'll have like various tabs you can go into, and basically the bit that's kind of important, I guess, would be the options. Sorry, I keep glancing away because I've got it on my other screen. So yeah, the options that you have available there: preferred codec. Now I've got that on H.264 plus because I get good results on that one. There are ones that are specific to the Quest. I think there's an AV1 and another one on there. There's a couple of that are specific to the Quest 3, and I think they allow you to up the bitrate even more. But overall, I felt the performance was most stable and best for me on the H.264 plus. But feel free to have a play around with that and see what works for you. I've got OpenXR runtime set to VDXR, which is Virtual Desktop XR. I believe the alternative on there is Steam XR. Now, using VDXR, I believe, gives you a bit of a performance boost in comparison to using the Steam VR. If you use Steam, then what it'll do is it'll boot up Steam in the background when you go to play a PCVR title, which it depends. Now, if you're playing a game that's on Steam, then it's going to boot up Steam VR anyway. To best of my knowledge, I think it always does. But things like Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I'm actually playing via Xbox Game Pass, that doesn't boot up Steam. There's no need for Steam VR to be running in the background. So I have it on VDXR 99% of the time. I think you can have it on automatic as well, and then it'll choose which is probably best for you. I don't know how that works though. And then on the right hand side, you've got a load of tick boxes there. Most of them are just ticked as I installed it. And I haven't changed. The only one I did change personally was the automatically adjust bit rate. So in the headset menu, which I'll show you in a minute, you get to set your bit rate. If you have the auto adjust, then that will then adjust to what the system thinks is a good bit rate for you. But in my experience, that doesn't always work out right, and it can lower your bit rate when you don't want it to. So I uncheck that auto bit rate. Again, it's up to you whether you do or not, but that's what I have there. The other things there, you've got like media, about, bindings, none of them. Now the accounts, that's just, I think, where you put in like your username and password. So whatever you've got in there will need to match on the headset in order to connect properly. It's just like I guess a security feature for that. So that's that one there. What I'll do now is I'll bring up the headset settings. So once you've loaded up the virtual desktop app on your headset, you should, if you click on computers and then click your computer, it should find your computer and connect. Now you've got a whole bunch of streaming settings here. Now the only one that, well, I mean, you can have a look at the other ones, but the one that I'm going to be covering is the streaming settings. So that's basically when it says streaming, it means that you're going to be streaming the game from your PC to your headset. That's basically what that means. So for myself and my PC settings, I've got a 4090 GPU, unfortunate enough. So I've got the graphics quality set to godlike. I do advise that you kind of try and get it set to the equivalent of whatever your graphics card is. You could stick it to godlike even if you haven't got a 4090, but the results you're going to get will be mixed, to put it politely. Frame rate, I've got it 120 frames per second. Now you can drop that right down. Obviously, that will have an impact on performance as well as battery life as well. So that's something to note. Obviously, when you're using the Quest 2 or the Quest 3 wirelessly, it's going to drain the battery a bit quicker. Or that's my experience anyway, especially when it's at 120 frames per second. The VR bit rate, I've moved that all the way up to 200 megabytes per second, or it might be megabits per second. I don't know, megabytes, bits, you tell me in the comments. Now, I think if you choose some of the other codecs, I think you can max that all the way up to 500. But again, it depends on your home network and stuff like that. I do have a really good home network here. I'm quite lucky to have Ethernet port in my games room in the PC room here, but also down in my lounge, which has got a bit of a bigger space. So depending on what sort of games I'm playing, sometimes I'll play down there, sometimes I'll play up here. Just depending if it's a game I can sit down, then obviously I'll play in front of my PC. But yeah, basically VR bitrate, I have that maxed out. Sharpening, I have that maxed out as well. Pass through, you can only do pass through, as it says, if you've got excuse me, got a bit of a cold. You can only do the VR pass through if the frame rate is set to 90 frames per second. So you'll need to change that before you launch the game if you want to use pass-through. That's not available to my knowledge for Microsoft Flight Sim. Be a bit weird if it was. But yeah, other games or whatever that might use that, you can do that. Gamma, I've just left it as it is. Synchronized space warp, I've also left that as it is. Well, no, sorry, tell a lie. I think it starts as automatic. I've disabled that. And then, you've got a few other bits there. Snapdragon, super resolution. I think that might only be available on the Quest 3. I might be wrong there, but I think that's only available on Quest 3. Video buffering. Well, you can see the other ones there. I don't need to list them all out. But there you go. That's my settings there. That's really about it for connecting. So hopefully, if you've done all that and you want to connect to, say, Microsoft Flight Sim 24, then what you do is you load up your virtual desktop, and then once that's loaded up, you should see your own PC desktop inside the headset. So then you'd navigate to either Steam VR, or you could navigate to, in my case, Game Pass, and then you just click on load. Now the game will start off in 2D, so it'll be flat screen. You'll see a big screen. It will load up. It takes forever to load. And then once you're in on game, you go to options, you go to VR, and you can just toggle it on and off. I think there's a keyboard shortcut to do it. I can't remember what that is, but it'll probably show you in the options menu. But yeah, just toggle it on and off. Once you toggle it on, it takes a minute, and then it should boot into VR. And at that point, then you can start looking around and doing all that kind of stuff. Although when it does boot into VR, you're still going to be in the menus, and all the menus are obviously 2D. So it's not until you actually get in a plane and you're flying the plane. I'm talking obviously about Flight Sim here, then you'll have it in true VR, but all the menus, and that kind of is the same for most games as well. PCVR games, you'll find a lot of them have kind of 2D menus, and then go into VR. The games that are specifically made for VR, that's different. Then the menus and everything will be in like proper VR. But games that are 2D games that have a VR option, the menus and all that stuff is normally in 2D, and then the actual game you can kind of flick to VR. So that pretty much covers off Virtual Desktop. What I'll do is I'll go through the link cable with you, because there are a couple of differences there with the link cable. I'm not so familiar with the link cable because I don't use it as often, but I'll kind of give you a quick overview there as to what you need to do. So like I said to you before, you plug it into your headset. It goes in the chart like the same port as you kind of use to charge, which does mean if you're using a Elite strap, then you have to take that out. You can't use the connection at the back because the Elite strap hasn't got a pass through, a data pass through for PCVR. I'm not sure about other battery packs or other charging methods, so you need to look. If you've got one, you need to check. But if you can't get a link, then the chances are you need to unplug the battery and plug in your thing directly into the headset. So once it's plugged in, and assuming you've got any drivers or anything like that installed, it should then boot up into the Rift menu inside the headset. Now from there, it can be a bit confusing for Flight Sim. So what you need to do for Flight Sim is you won't see it in the library of games, because that library of games is specifically any Rift games. So if you've downloaded Meta PCVR titles from the Meta store, then that'll be listed in the games library there. It won't show anything else. You can get Steam VR from there as well. So if you've got a Steam VR version of Flight Sim, then you'd launch the Steam VR app, which would then take you into Steam VR, and then you can look at your Steam VR library and it will have Flight Sim there. I'm using Game Pass version, so you don't need to do that. So for Game Pass version, you'd along the bottom you've got like a bar. It's got loads of different options, and one of them it'll say desktop, and then for every screen, if I've got 3 screens here, so you've got screen or desktop 1, 2 and 3. You just click on the right one, whichever one it is that you want, and then you click on the Xbox Game Pass. So I'm losing my words here. The Xbox Game Pass button, and then that'll bring that up, and then obviously you can navigate to the game and you can launch it there, and then everything else after that should be the same. Just go into VR to start that up. If it doesn't start in VR, there is let me just check what it's called now. There is something you can do in the Meta app as well. So I did have it when I tried the other day with the link cable. Let's see if I can find it now. I bet I won't be able to find it. I think it's in the settings. Under settings, then you go into general. What I'll do is I'll put a screen capture up of this as well so you can see this. But you go in settings, then general, and it's Open XR runtime, and you want to set that to Meta as your Open XR runtime. So there you go. If you're having issues with a black screen, that should hopefully resolve that issue, and then you should be in VR. Obviously, there's loads of other troubleshooting issues. You could have perhaps a incompatible cable. There can be a number of issues, and it's very difficult for me to go through every kind of issue and how to resolve it. But there are obviously lots of people in the community that can help out, and I'll do my best. If you do have any issues, feel free to jump in the comments and let me know. Or if you think there's anything major that I've missed that I should probably have mentioned, then feel free to stick in the comments and help others out. I'm not going to go into Steam Link and Airlink because, as I say, I have used them, but I haven't had a very good result, so I've not really gone back to them. So I don't think I'm probably the person to go through in any sort of detail with those ones. Hopefully there'll be other videos out there if you do wish to use one of those. But like I say, virtual desktop is my preference. You do have to have a very good home network. So what they advise is that your main router is directly wired to the PC using an Ethernet cable, and then you need to be connected with your headset wirelessly to a router or an access point that is in the line of sight. So there's no good having a router in another room with the wireless over there and trying it through lots of walls and things like that, because that will degrade the signal. You need a really, really strong signal. You can do it that way, and I've done it that way before, but you would definitely get a lesser experience that way. You need to be in the line of sight of the router that you're connecting to. You can connect to a 5 Wi-Fi 5 gigahertz channel, a 6 or a 6E. A lot of people say you have to have 6E. That's not true. You don't need to have a 6E. I used Wi-Fi 5G for a long time, 5 gigahertz connection, should I say, without any issues. The main thing is if you've got any other devices that connected to that Wi-Fi, you want them connected on a separate channel. So to put them all to 2.5, and then keep your 5 or your 6 or your 6E, just keep that specifically for your headset. So you want to kind of get rid of all the other network activity, so it's only your headset on that channel, so you get nice kind of crisp connection. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Like I say, there are so many different kind of ifs and buts with these type of connections. There's lots of things that can and unfortunately do go wrong, but once you've got it up and running, you should be kind of away with it. Everything should be good. I hope this video has been useful to you guys and I haven't missed anything crucial off. But like I say, please do stick in a comment. Regarding the channel as well, we've got a goal of 1,000 subscribers. We're on 600. So if you're watching this and you like the video, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you are subscribing, if you have already subscribed, then thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Have a nice day.